Thank you, Brother Richard, for sitting down once again for Behind the Final Call cover story. We had a little technical issues, but Allah's permission, we're back up. So if those are out there, please like, share it on YouTube, share it on Facebook, Twitter, all of that. Have us, all your people, join us live right now at the foodie spot, 7350 South Stony Island, Chicago, Illinois. But once again, this is volume number 39, number 13,
number 15.
Number 15, I'm tripping. Volume number 39, number 15, January 21st, 2020 is the date on the paper. Title of the paper, Disaster Delayed. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Richard.
Wa alaikum salam.
Why this cover story?
Well, this cover story is a continuation of our coverage over the last few weeks about the situation with Iran, which is heated up.
Since the Sister Carmela needs attention, we're live on YouTube right now.
I'm gone.
Since she needs a little attention, this is the owner of the foodie spot. That she come ahead, go ahead and say hi to the people since they saw you just standing there.
Well, come on, say hi.
Peace and blessings.
Tell them come on down.
Come on down to the foodie spot.
Located at
7350 South Stony Island,
and your hours
Chicago.
Your hours of operation.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesday to Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday.
Can I call in orders and pick them up?
You can call them in,
really?
Pick them up, we deliver too.
And anybody, if you come in and say that you saw the show.
That's right, you get 25% discount.
Today only. Wow. Today only, 25%.
Today and tomorrow. How about that?
Today
Let's
and
add tomorrow.
25% say Behind the Final Call cover story. You can get 25% off your order. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bam, right there.
All right, there you go.
So with that said, of course, we're always organic. We're live and doing this on the fly.
And we black.
And we black. But let's go back to this right
black.
here.
That explains everything.
Disaster delayed, cover of the paper. A lot going on in the news.
Yeah.
Why this cover story?
Well, again, this is our continued coverage from the killing, the U.S. assassination of Iraqi General Qassem Soleimani earlier this month. So a U.S. drone strike killed the general, who was a highly beloved official in Iran. He was killed in Iraq along with some other Iraqis because of a drone strike by America. So of course that inflamed passions and protests. Iran countered with a strike against a U.S. military base in Iraq. And so tensions were ratcheted very high. That strike did not result in any U.S. injuries or loss of life. So it appeared as though the countries were stepping back from the brink of war. But the Trump administration did increase sanctions against Iran, and the justification used under an immediate threat that Mr. Soleimani was supposed to pose to the United States has basically been proven to be a lie. The story has changed. No concrete information has ever been issued, and my editorial kind of deals with these lies. And the important thing is these lies have consequences, right? America's now almost 2 decades into a war in the Middle East, if you look at Afghanistan, if you look at Iraq, with thousands of American loss of lives, hundreds of thousands of deaths among Arabs, and over $1 trillion spent on a war that U.S. officials knew they could not win. So we are continuing to watch this thing as it unfolds. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and you have to read his article this week, which is a reprint of a press conference that he had in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, which laid out some very important subjects. So that's the center article from the minister this week. So you really need to see what's going on here. So our hope and our duty is to continue to monitor this crisis. Our duty is to continue to inform and to warn, because the minister has warned that these events in Iran, if the U.S. pulls this trigger to war with Iran, could lead to the biblical war of Armageddon, a global war. And when you look at the connections and people choosing sides, you see that what he says is absolutely true. So we wanted to show this, and of course there have been anti-war demonstrations already here in the United States. There was a report in the Wall Street Journal that Mr. Trump actually, at least part of the reasons for his decision to kill General Soleimani was that he wanted to appease people in the Republican Party in the Senate whose vote he needs not to be removed from office, because remember, the president has been impeached. So there are a couple different things going on here, but it's not that complicated that we can't understand it. We just gotta pay attention for a minute and not be consumed by LSU versus Clemson, not be consumed by what's happening in the NBA, not be consumed by what's happening on Love and Hip Hop and reality TV. We all need a distraction. We all need entertainment. But what we have to have today is information. So we're hoping that we're giving you good information. So we got, I think, a really great story with some great analysis about the implications of what's happening by our senior editor, Brother Askia Muhammad, and our contributing writer, very fine journalist out of Washington, D.C., Barrington South. So that coverage begins on page 3. Then we got editorial. Then we have the minister's article. So there's a lot there, and you need to stop and take a minute, go to finalcall.com, and get a little information and some analysis and some perspective about what's going on, because we have brothers and sisters in the military. Then there's also the question of, if you're spending money on war, what happens to domestic spending? Our community has a lot of needs, so we have to speak out against these things.
Thank you, Brother Richard. We have people all around the country and probably some around the world. Please type your city in. Let us know where you're watching us from. There's some people that are mine, particularly our brother Jonathan, right here in Chicago, and he's checking out your hat. He's like, where can he get that hat from? He's scoping it out.
I got this hat at Savior's Day last year, one of the vendors, and I suggest you come to Savior's Day this year, because I'm sure they'll be back. And not only did I get this hat, but I got a nice sweatshirt that said Muhammad. It was embroidered. Very good, high quality product. Savior's Day, February 21st through February 23rd at the TCF Center in Detroit. So come on down and make sure you're there.
Thank you. We have Flint, Michigan representing, that's watching as well. And you mentioned, and of course, we usually don't jump to the minister's article right here in the beginning, but I think it's definitely important that people don't even watch. Not only do they read the excerpt from the lecture, but this is the press conference the minister did in D.C. I strongly encourage you. If you look in the paper, you can find out the exact information about it, and it's available on MP3, DVD, and CD. So you should read it, but there's a different type of value that you get when you're able to read it as well as listen to it.
And this message was delivered at the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C. on November 16th, 2017. So definitely it's a very powerful message, but we got to get information because we should be able to see this is a very serious time, and while it looks like everything is kind of calmed down, we have seen how things can in an instant go right to the brink. We never would have thought that America necessarily would have killed an Iranian official in Iraq. So now, part of the fallout, and this is again one of the reasons why this thing can explode almost at any minute, the Iraqi government has said to America, we want you out. America said basically, we ain't leaving. So how is that going to work out? The other thing is, the thought is that Iran may not be finished, and that her responses to the killing of General Soleimani may happen over a longer period of time. There's also the thought that militias and groups that support Iran may strike. I think the other part is that you may even have other groups that are not even allied with Iran that may strike against America or American allies just because they don't like U.S. warmongering, they don't like U.S. domination, they don't like the humiliation of the Arab people, and they don't like the extension and the spreading of troops, for example, in the Middle East. Thousands now have been sent back in that region after the president said he was pulling people out. So one of the problems is that not only does this assassination appear to be possibly illegal, right? But now there doesn't seem to be any end game. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote about confusion of people, confusion of leadership. And so when you have an arrogant president and an errant president who knows more than the generals, remember he said that, America's in trouble. It's in real trouble. So you better stay tuned and follow some good guidance.
Yes, sir.
And we got a man that's offering that guidance. That man's Minister Farrakhan. So we encourage you today, just consider what he is saying for yourself. We're not asking you to take anything at face value. Study, read, analyze for yourself. But don't reject that which could actually help save your life.
Yes, sir. Thank you, thank you. We have people who are joining us from New York, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Arizona. We got people on the south side of Chicago, all that are representing and watching the show. We please encourage you to like and share. Brother Khalif said, without the final call, we all wouldn't, right. Without the final call, we all people wouldn't be aware of the danger. So basically that, of course, the final call is not just saying that in words, but also in deeds, that we're letting you know what's going on, and this is definitely the final call, the final time. So with that said, you know, one of the things, and this, I haven't read, I'll be honest, I haven't read the editorial in its entirety, but this is something you want to check out. You already mentioned the editorial, but the title of the editorial is A Liar in the White House, Danger for the Country. But this is how it starts off. Dear America, your president is a liar.
That's true. It's true. That's how it starts off, and it's true that the president is a liar.
So that's something that I know I'm intrigued, so I know you'll be intrigued as well. So make sure you check that out. So, Brother Richard, where are we going to go? So I know...
Well, let's go. We got the King holiday coming up. I think it's at the 21st this year, the 20th, 20th, or the 21st. So we got an article, No War on Poverty, No War on Poverty, the King holiday and American hypocrisy. So we wanted to take a look at, as the country prepares to quote-unquote celebrate Dr. King and his legacy and to lionize him, we wanted to deal with the reality of how do you honor a man who you call a drum major for justice, and a man whose the work of his final days was anti-war work and a war on poverty and a poor people's campaign. So we wanted to look at that, and of course we found, and we like for the readers to consider and to read this piece, which deals with the continued problem of poverty in the society. And we talked to some civil rights leaders who are actually trying to follow in Dr. King's footsteps as opposed to paying lip service to him. Reverend William Barber out of North Carolina, who is leading a campaign and trying to put poverty back on the agenda. If you notice, it's not talked about by virtually anyone. The presidential candidates aren't talking about poverty. The Trump administration certainly isn't talking about poverty. So we wanted to really deal with this very serious crisis, if you will, in America. We got an interview with Dr. Charles Steele, who's over the Southern Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which was founded by Dr. King and others. So we want folks to consider, when we talk about Dr. King and don't do the work, are we honoring him or dishonoring him? Are we recasting him in a way that makes him non-threatening when he was really a man on an evolutionary course, and a man who was no longer dreaming, but a man who had awakened to the reality of the American nightmare? And that's actually something literally that he said. So again, check out finalcall.com, get your subscription, and hopefully we're offering some information and some perspective.
Thank you, Brother Richard. There's a few others that are joining us from different cities, and I'm going to do a quick check-in on that and ask you once again to like, share with everybody on social media. And we have Linda in Denver, Colorado, so we all over the place. So we thank you for your support and appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you at Saviors Day. But one of the things I want to jump to real quick is, and I think there's been coverage in previous weeks already, but extensive coverage on the seminar, the disaster preparedness workshop that occurred in Chicago. And I got a little inside info. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble. Hopefully I won't. But you can expect to get some information about disaster preparedness word on the street during Saviors Day, possibly during one of the workshops. But can you give us a little bit about what went on at the disaster preparedness seminar?
This was a seminar that was held in Moscow. And of course, it dealt with how do we respond when disasters strike. We're living in what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, and what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has shown us, what are called the last days. So that means that these are days, and we've seen in the news, and we've even seen in our personal lives, these devastating events. But you have to be ready for the possibility that you could have a flood, that you could have a fire, that you could have a snowstorm, that you could have extreme heat. So you have to get ready for those things now. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad instructed us to get ready. The minister has really tried to, in a sense, help us in a major way through the 10 ministries of the Nation of Islam. And one deals with, or at least one of the task forces or one of the areas of importance, is disaster preparedness, first aid. What should you be doing? So, again, check it out. See what you need to know. And maybe there's somebody in the article you want to get in touch with. Maybe you want to bring this seminar to your city.
Yes, sir.
I mean, and a lot of people have been doing some really incredible training. I know in places like, for example, Dallas, they've been 10,000 fearless first responders doing all kinds of stuff. They literally went down to the Bahamas and helped out during that disaster. And there are all kinds of things you may be able to get in terms of training and expertise from your city government, from your state government, from your county government. So check out the article and prepare to save your own life.
Yes, sir. And you won't be able to get it all during Saviors Day, but come ahead and come out to Saviors Day. I can almost guarantee you that you're going to get something dealing with disaster preparedness. I want to jump to an article that I know is probably personally, it should be dear to all of our hearts, but you have a special relationship with what went on in Ferguson. Money woes could lead to dissolution. Ferguson leaders said. Can you give us a little bit?
Well, of course, we know that Ferguson, Missouri, this suburban town outside of St. Louis, was the epicenter in 2014 for an uprising after the killing of Michael Brown, and an overbearing and just incredibly, I would say, brutal response by law enforcement. Nights and days of protest, tear gas, people in the streets, people are being arrested, people even being beaten and brutalized. So amid all of this now, the city officials are saying that they may have to dissolve Ferguson as an incorporated city. It's interesting to me that there have been leadership changes. You got more black folks, and Ferguson is a majority black town. But there have also been requirements put on the city through a Justice Department consent decree, which means that they are supposed to implement certain changes in policing, as well as to adhere to certain reporting mechanisms, and they're saying they can't afford that. They're saying there are all kinds of things that they can't afford, so they may have to dissolve the city. So I mean, we'll see. There's also class action lawsuits that are pending in Ferguson. So we'll see how this goes, but we want folks to check it out, see what they think, because again, man, I mean, this is one of the things is Ferguson would not be in this position if all of these things are true, if they'd not been oppressing black people. Period. If they had been doing the right thing and treating black people with justice, they would not even be in this position. So I don't have a lot of sympathy. I guess the question would be what happens would the area be kind of brought into county government, because you've got St. Louis County government. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I want to jump on another note, dealing with the prison reform ministry. And there's an article dealing with some events that are going on, celebrating Brother Calvin X, the NOI Prison Reform Ministry, Delaware Valley Region recognizes inmate study group coordinator. Can you give us a little bit about that article and what's going on with the prison ministry?
We never want to forget the believers that are locked away. So we always like to share their stories. And this is a brother who for a long time has been serving in prison and who has steadily tried to propagate the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership of Minister Farrakhan to help change and save lives. So, I mean, this is really an incredible work. It's an inspiring work. And it's always a great honor to showcase the transformative power of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The power of the Nation of Islam to remake black men and women. The power of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to engage in true prison reform, meaning you are literally transforming the lives of those who have been destroyed not by the Nation of Islam, but those who have been destroyed by this society. So it's a great article written by Brother Gregory Muhammad, who is the Student Regional Prison Reform Minister for the Delaware Valley region based in Philadelphia, and a brother who was formerly incarcerated himself. But he has just continued now that he's home to serve those that are still locked up. So again, very important. You should get a subscription for the Final Call for your loved ones if they're locked up, whether they're Muslims or not. Everybody needs a good word. Everybody needs something that can inspire. Everybody needs something in particular in that situation that can bring some light and some hope. So go to finalcall.com, get your subscription, and send it to your loved ones. Help them. Don't forget them. But they need information and they need inspiration to change, especially that environment, because many of the departments of corrections today, they've even removed language about corrections from their official mission. Now, it used to be in the mission, but they weren't fulfilling it. Today, many of them have removed any reference to corrections or reform from their mission. They just basically locking you up, warehousing you, working you, and abusing you. So we need to understand that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There's a few others that have joined us. They're stressing the importance of getting that bug out bag or that bag for
Absolutely.
preparation for disaster that is imminently going to happen. What else do we have here? I think I already mentioned this. Arkansas is in the house. People wishing us greetings of peace and all of that good stuff. Somebody else asking about the hat. We told you that you got to join us at Savior's Day.
That's right.
Join us at Savior's Day. But there's an article about Dr. Kim Muhammad, and she presented some natural health tips in Milwaukee, and that's one of the things. And we don't reference the article as often as we need to, that there's always something in the final call every week about how to eat to live. Food robbed of natural vitamins is the article dealing with the how to eat to live this week. And you should have both volumes of how to eat to live, volume 1 and volume 2. That's something we know that God is present because we knew that he would impart, he would give us, teach us what to eat and what to keep stored in our homes. But Dr. Kim is talking about some natural health tips. Can you jump into that a little bit?
Well, again, we just want to show the work that is always ongoing with the Nation of Islam. So we are not just a reactive group, but we're constantly trying to spread information. So Dr. Kim Muhammad, who was a naturopathic physician from Phoenix, came to Mosque number 3 in Milwaukee, and she talked about what you can do to deal with things like obesity, what you can do which leads to problems like high blood pressure and diabetes, and the value of fasting and the value of eating the proper foods at the proper times. So all of these things can help us get our health situations under control, and hopefully we can be more preventive. Hopefully we can prevent some things from happening to us as best we can by following good guidance and following those who have knowledge that they're willing to share with us.
Thank you, Brother Richard. You know, there's a lot in here. We're not going to, as we always say, we're not going to cover it all. But of course, we talked about Iran. But can you give us some more international news? What's going on around the world that our people need to be aware of?
You know, Cardi B was in Nigeria. So,
Cardi B for president.
That's right.
Why are you smiling like that, Brother Richard?
Well,
you know, you started grinning. There was a little extra grin in there. I don't know.
Well, because I think that we should never underestimate the ability of our people to learn and to grow. And we should never think that there's only one aspect to who they are. Because in the entertainment industry, they love to keep you focused on one aspect. They never allow, or rarely allow, black celebrities, in particular black women, the range where they can do more than one thing. So when you think about that person, you think about them in their totality as opposed to a caricature of who they really are. So Cardi B is one of several black entertainers who have gone to Africa and who have had incredibly good experiences. And she made a statement that really speaks to where we are as a people in this rising consciousness. She said, I want citizenship in Nigeria, especially based on what this crazy president is doing in America. Now think about that. We typically see people trying to flee from where they are to enter America, but here's a sister saying, these people, in particular this president, is so crazy, I need to get up out of here. So we know this idea of exodus, this idea of separation as a major part of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a solution to the race problem. So the funny thing is, when Sister said it, folks from Ghana started speaking, because this year is the year of return to Ghana in West Africa. Of course, Nigeria is also in West Africa. So now there's this rivalry or competition, if you will, about should Cardi B be granted citizenship or dual citizenship in Nigeria or Ghana. And it's a funny kind of story, but I think it's symbolically very important. Because remember, at one point we had no or very little identification with Africa. But now as we grow into the knowledge of who we are in the time, we begin to want to connect with our people, and we want to do business with our people, and we want to learn more about our culture. So again, don't sleep on Cardi B. Keep your eye on her. And always look for additional information about black celebrities. You know, don't allow people to just pigeonhole them and to keep them in one place. Everybody has more than one aspect of who they are.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And she's a great mother. She's a devoted wife. So, you know, we need to really give our people credit, you know. And I personally think some conversations she's had with Bernie Sanders and others that is really great. Is really great that she is speaking into politics, both nationally and globally. So again, we have to kind of see some of these things, I think, in a particular light. And for me, she's always kind of a fascinating example of celebrity and this growing consciousness. Remember, this is the same sister that said, I'm not performing in no Super Bowl out of support for Colin Kaepernick. Now, it wasn't too long ago when black athletes and black celebrities weren't speaking up about anything at all. We're in a different time, we're in a different space. We should applaud that, and we should tell our people, keep going, get stronger and stronger, and be your independent, bold black self.
Thank you, Brother Richard. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank all those who are supporting and sharing this episode of Behind the Final Call cover story. Of course, we know that we're in a very serious time in history, and I can't echo enough the importance of going back and listening and reading the minister's article this week. Very powerful piece that's definitely relevant and important to the day and time we live in. We got people who are popping in from Dallas, Texas. We got tornadoes that are popping off. We got the hail, rain, snow, earthquakes. All of that stuff is happening all around the world. Fires. Mm-hmm. It's a great and a dreadful day.
Absolutely.
Of course, I see where you turn to.
That's right.
Expressing your bias. But before you jump there, I want to give an overview of all of the events that are going on during Savior's Day. And there is the schedule, the release of the initial kind of summary overall schedule on what will be going on. And Savior's Day is right here in the final call. You got an opportunity to check that out. And of course, as it was mentioned, Savior's Day festivities will begin in Detroit, Michigan, February the 20th. That's a Thursday, February the 20th. And the program will begin at 8 o'clock. And that is Student Minister Dr. Ava Muhammad doing her show live and in person, Elevated Places. You want to check that out. Then on Friday, February 21st, the opening will begin at 9 o'clock, Allah willing. And that's an opening and welcome. And the program and the workshops and seminars will actually focus mostly on the Muslim program, which you can find on the back inside cover of the Final Call newspaper. And that request was named by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He wanted us to focus our attention on the Muslim program. So you have those. The first set of workshops will be from 9:30 to 11:30. And then, of course, a family that prays together stays together. So we'll take a break for Salat Tajuma, and that is the Muslim prayer, 12 to 1:30 p.m. And then following that, from 2 to 4 p.m., the Muslim program, that will be the second grouping of workshops and seminars. And then I'm going to skip over that one, but it'll be a special event at 7 to 10 o'clock.
I
know you're going to get special attention to it, so we're going to let
the Final Call banquet Friday night at Savior's Day. Doors open right now at 6. Banquet begins at 7.
He's going to talk about it again anyway.
That's right.
But praise you to Allah. So on Saturday.
Things in order.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On Saturday, February 22nd, from 1 to 3:30, you do not want to miss this. Should black people consider separation?
Yes. Oh, sorry. That wasn't a question.
And it's really not a question. It's really going to be moving towards what are the next steps. The answer is, but all of these things that are going on, with all the things that we're talking about, we've tried everything else, and it's apparent that it's not working. Actually, Student Minister Ava was actually in D.C. this weekend, and she delivered a very powerful message on Sunday, but actually there was a town hall meeting as well on this past Saturday in Washington, D.C. So, of course, the drill competition will follow that at 7 p.m. on Saturday the 22nd, from 7 to approximately 9 p.m. And then there's some other events that you'll be hearing about very soon, and some events that we may have internally, like we have a graduation for those who are new into the Nation of Islam. So that's really important. And of course, the crowning event of Black History Month is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's address that Sunday, February 23rd. And of course, since this is behind the Final Call cover story, Brother Rich is going to give you a little bit more about that event that you don't want to miss.
Well, of course, we're really blessed to be back in Detroit, the place where the Nation of Islam was born. This is a pretty important year for the nation. I think this is our 90th year of the teachings being and the arrival of the great Mahdi in North America. The 40th anniversary of the publication of the Final Call. I think this is the 44th year of Minister Farrakhan teaching in the absence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we've got a great dinner program, February 21st, TCF Ballroom at the TCF Center. All Savior's Day activities will be at the TCF Center, so you want to be there. But this will be an evening, the banquet is an evening of celebration, an evening of really just saying thank you to those who have worked for the last 40 years to make the paper successful. So you can go right now to NOI.org, get your tickets. Tickets only $100, but get your ticket now so you can be there. I promise you, it's going to be a great night and a memorable night. We haven't had a banquet in a long time, so you can really come on in and dress up and enjoy yourself, and enjoy a good dinner and good fellowship with the Muslims, and I think a program that you'll be pleased with. And of course, we're looking for, hopefully, our minister delivering some kind of word to close the evening in whatever way he may desire.
Thank you, Brother Richard, once again. I think we didn't cover it all, and we didn't try to cover it all. Oh, actually, you got to mention
it's Children's Village of Savior's Day. Again, another great event, and an event, a happening, a staple now of Savior's Day, started and maintained and planned and delivered by Mother Khadija Farrakhan and her helpers, and of course, notably her daughter, Sister Maria, and others are there. But time for our children. So go online to donate, right? Because these things cost money. To childrensvillageonline.org, right? www.childrensvillageonline.com, because it's truly a family affair.
.org.
childrensvillageonline.org. Just come on and enjoy yourself, get rejuvenated, and really see what black folks look like when they are left alone, and when they know who they are, and when they're self-respecting. You won't be finding any fights. You won't be finding any arguments. You won't be finding anybody disrespecting women. Nobody's going to be reaching into your pocket stealing. You will see peace, 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 and we invite you to come on out, whether you consider yourself to be a Muslim or not, but come on out and see what it's like to have black people together, really enjoying themselves. It's always a great experience. Weekend, February 20th, that Thursday evening, we begin with Sister Ava's broadcast. Then we got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So essentially starting the evening of February 20th and ending on Sunday, February 23rd. Come on out. You don't want to miss it.
Thank you, Brother Richard, and thank you all that have joined us today. Shalom to the family, peace to the gods and the earths, all the positive people in the universe, peace to all those. We appreciate your support. There's no use of doing the show if they're not here. So we thank you. Of course, once again, we're live in the foodie spot, 7350 Stony Island. 25% off if you come in today.
In Chicago.
In Chicago. If you come in today or tomorrow, if you mention Behind the Final Call cover story, take advantage of that. Man, until next time, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Look forward to seeing you at Savior's Day in Detroit, Michigan. Oh, and you know what? I'm gonna take a little opportunity and check out that, man. You know, you can read the article right on your tablet or your phone, and let's see if you can hear it. If I have it, read it to you a little bit. Let's see if it can get a little. I must have my volume muted, so you can. But it is reading. Trust me, it would be. But until next time, assalamu alaikum.